As Dresden, after today's press conference, I'm confident that Khan doesn't go center or Project Lyman in the first.
I think that Omar.
So what was said?
So
I
I
did
was gonna
not
say,
see this
I
press
thought that
conference.
Omar was just playing it close to the vest. I don't think that it's 100% that he's not gonna go that route. One of the guys had asked him, he was like, just what are you looking for when you're trying to project a guy who hasn't played a certain position transition into that on the offensive line, specifically center. And they were kind of referencing Graham Barton. Everybody kind of knew that just based on the way that the press conference was kind of going. And what Omar kind of said was, well, him and Coach T, they were like, you kind of look for some type of familiarity where they've played the position, whether it was freshman year, anytime while they were in college, or if they were the backup snapper. And, you might not ever saw them in a game, but they took all the practice reps because they were the number 2 guy. So if they have some type of base like that, that's one of the things that'll make them feel comfortable. The other part they said was the players' mental fortitude for the position. If they're, has a high level of understanding for protection in different, fronts, those are things that also make them feel really good about a player's ability to transition from one spot to another. Just because, you feel like at that position, not only is it a physical spot, but we also know from a mental standpoint, center is one of those ones where you would like for him to be able to, know all the different protection stuff like that. So that was kind of, where they were going with it. But I don't feel like it was just cut and dry or until it's like one way or the other. He was giving us a nah. I think he was just kind of explaining the process, and it just is what it is right now. But he did also, they made it seem like they still feel good about the guys that they have in terms of positional flexibility currently on the roster. That could also be this pre-draft ploy, or they could really think that. I kind of lean to the pre-draft. They trying to play it close to the vest, because if you start tilting your hand one way or the other, then we know with certain players being on the board at certain times, how that could affect us if we're trying to make any moves and stuff, man.
Yeah, right. If teams know that you're going to go center, one of those center-needy teams might say, the Steelers are going to draft the center. Yeah. Let me trade up in front of them to make sure I get my guy. Because that's what I was going to ask you. What makes you think that, or just based off that comment, like what was said from Khan that makes you think we're not going to go center in the first?
That's why I was like, I didn't think that, man.
Yeah. So one of the headlines I just looked up, this is on Tribune Review. It says Steelers not overly thirsty entering draft despite glaring hole at center.
And that's what Coach Thomas specifically says. He's like, we're not coming into this thing overly thirsty. We do feel like we have guys with positional flexibility. And they said it's a good feeling to be able to come into the draft without feeling thirsty. And the follow-up questions were kind of like, well, what about center? And then that's where it kind of started going with that whole...
And here's where Omar Khan said, it says it's an important position. We have guys on the roster that have flexibility, so we have options there. There are some good players at the position, and we'll see where it shakes out.
Yeah. And that's the part where we're like, I think you're being coy. I think you're playing it close to the vest, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But you also can't rule out the potential backdoor situation of bringing a Mason Cole back. Don't know if it ever happens, but he still isn't signed anywhere just yet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of our options if we don't sign a center early. It would either be Spencer Anderson, Mason Cole,
James Daniel.
I don't like kicking a dude
I'm with
out
you.
of their
natural spot
most
to
natural
go somewhere
spot.
else. So would you go, was it Nate Herbig?
I don't feel good about that either.
I think we have a lot more size.
I'd probably feel the best about Spencer Anderson, to be honest. I'd just be like, screw it. Just,
Well, because you don't know
we
what you
brought
don't
him
know.
up to be a center. Why not?
Yeah.
Out of those options, now, one name that was brought up, I think Kabali wrote an article on this.
Kaboom! Shout
or
out.
I saw it on
Shout
Twitter.
out.
I don't know. It was like a week or two ago. The dude from Miami, you might be familiar with this guy too. Connor Williams.
Yeah,
he got hurt middle of last year,
He's
so
coming
he might not
ACL
be
though, bro.
ready. Yeah, I was gonna say he might not be ready this offseason.
If he's healthy, he would have been one of the better options. Trust me. Yeah.
Well,
he's on the ACL.
What are we thinking about that? Like, could he be back for week 1? But then he's probably still gonna be rusty. Yeah.
I don't think it's back week 1, just based on how we've been seeing some of these dudes recovering from. Now, in terms of benefits, you say to yourself, well, he's not a overly athletic type of dude. So does that have the same impact that we saw like with a Devin Bush per se? You know, where at times it was like, man, we could kind of see him being hesitant because of the space he had to play in. Maybe for Connor, it's a different convo.
He would be a good pickup. I just don't know how the logistics of that would work. Because, let's assume he's not ready for the first month and a half of the season. Mm-hmm. Who are we rocking with?
That's the problem. And that's why it's like...
Mason Cole is a stopgap for that month and a half. Wouldn't be the worst scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's signing up for that. But, again, it's also a job. It's an opportunity.
And we also don't know what Connor Williams is like in terms of the recovery, in terms of when he does finally get back and when that is. It's like... we got to figure out something. I just don't think Connor Williams could be first option. Just because of the timing of it. If we had somebody else up here and we don't have to go get them, I think it's different. I think we can be like, yeah, let's go get a Connor Williams. He can kind of sit here. But right now, it's like we're literally talking. You said to yourself, you would rather go Spencer Anderson. And I'm saying, man, I'd try to go sign Mason Cole back. So,
yeah, maybe you do that and have him and Spencer Anderson compete.
Kind of do,
something like that. But I'm not feeling great about it.
Nah.
Definitely not feeling
Omar
great
was
about
super chill when he talked about it. And I think that's why my man might have been feeling like that. I'm reading it totally different. I'm like, yeah, bro, I think you just trying to keep this close to your chest, which is fine. But
which he should.
There's no way we're looking at this roster
and
we're saying the same thing. There's no way we could feel like... I don't see how we could feel like that. Yeah.
No, the simplest solution is just draft one of these top 3 guys.
I would agree.
The simplest way to go about it.
Now,
it helps your team a lot. Yeah. You get your bang for your buck there. You're not cheapskating around the position. Go ahead, though.
Yeah. And I'll say the conversation really just stems from, do you want to stay at 20? Or do you want to move back to later in the first round? Or do you want to take the chance and trade higher up into the second round? But I think that kind of has to be the convo. If you don't take them first, it's like 1 or 2. It has to be within that window of 20 to 45. Like at some point between them 2 picks, we need to have one of them be one of them dudes, man.
Yep.